I remember the day like it was carved into my skin. It was a Wednesday morning, early spring, though the sky felt heavy with looming storms. I was halfway through my third cup of coffee, black, no sugar, scanning through emails when my phone buzzed with a text from Mom. "Please call me when you get this. It's urgent. Love, Mom." I frowned, thumb hovering over the green button. Urgent texts from Mom almost never bode well. My heart thudded as I dialed. "Hey, Ma, what's up?" Her voice trembling came through the line. "Your sister, Emma's in the hospital. They just called. She's been diagnosed with acute myeloid leukemia. She needs a bone marrow transplant." The world slowed. Acute myeloid leukemia. Those words echoed like gunshots in a cathedral. "Is she okay? What? When did this happen?" "She's stable," Mom said, voice hollow. "But they say you're a match. They asked if you'd donate." I closed my eyes. Emma, my only sister. The one who'd tormented me, undermined me, stabbed me in the back so thoroughly that my career, my entire professional reputation, lay in ruins. The one I hadn't spoken to in 2 years. I pressed my hand to the screen. I need a minute." "I know it's sudden," Mom said softly. "But they didn't find a match in the registry. You're her best chance." I blinked. Okay, I'll call you back in an hour." I hung up and stared at the blank wall across from my desk. My mind's eye replayed the moment everything shattered. 2 years ago, I was poised to become the youngest VP in our industry's history, leading a multi-million-dollar product launch. Emma, fresh out of grad school and desperate for her own break, had leaked our confidential strategy deck to a rival firm, my strategy deck, meticulously pored over at 3 a.m. under her name. The board investigation was swift and brutal. I was scapegoated, fired, and my reputation shredded. I'd lost my job, my savings, and half my friends. I moved back home, worked as a barista, rebuilt whatever dignity I could scrounge. Emma, she'd ridden that leak straight into a cushy consulting gig, all smiles and pats on the back. I hadn't forgiven her. Hell, I hadn't even talked to her since the day the official letter came. "We regret to inform you," and now she was dying and wanted my marrow. I paced across my tiny living room. The morning light filtered through half-closed blinds, casting prison bars on the wood floors. I texted Emma, "Me, hospital now? Are you okay?" No reply. Typical. She always put her career first, even when she was sabotaging mine. My phone rang again. It was Dad this time. "Son," he said, cautious. "I know things have been hard between you two, but she needs you now." I ran a hand through my hair. "Dad, you know what she did. She stole my career." "I'm not." "Emma's sick, Mark," he cut in. "She's your sister." His voice cracked. "She's dying." I swallowed. Dying. The word hit harder than any blow Emma had ever dealt. I closed my eyes. "I'll be there." I lied. At the hospital, Mom met me in the stark fluorescent-lit lobby. She clutched my arm as we walked. I looked around, families clustered on plastic chairs, muted laments drifting through the corridors. The antiseptic scent made me queasy. In Emma's room, she lay pale against crisp white sheets, tubes snaking from her arms. When she opened her eyes, they were red-rimmed, haunted, but she managed a weak smile. "Hey bro," she rasped. My throat tightened. "Hey." We sat in awkward silence. I stared at her fine features, once full of ambition and mischief, now gaunt and fragile. A doctor entered, clipboard in hand. "Mr. Sanders," he said, glancing at me. "Your sister is in need of a hematopoietic stem cell transplant. Preliminary tests show you're a close match. Would you consider donating?" I looked at Emma. She nodded, tearful. "Please," she mouthed. The doctor smiled kindly. "We would start with further screening if you consent." I stood. "I need time." He nodded. "Of course. But the sooner we proceed, the better her chances." He left, and the door swung shut. I sat again, heavy with conflicted emotions. Emma reached for my hand. It felt like ice. "Mark," she whispered. "I'm sorry." My breath caught. The apology I'd fantasized about never got. I withdrew my hand. "Sorry doesn't undo what you did." Tears slid down her cheeks. "I know. I was desperate. I never meant to ruin your life. I just wanted to prove myself." I felt rage and pity war inside me. "Prove yourself by betraying your only family?" Mom's soft voice drifted in the hallway through a crack in the door. "Emma, can I come in?" Emma nodded. Mom entered, enveloped her in a gentle hug. I slipped away to the window, staring at the busy street outside. The world kept moving. Cars honked, joggers ran, birds perched on lampposts, while our family fell apart. That evening, I walked home under a charcoal sky, neon hospital signs blinking behind me. I brewed tea, chamomile, hoping its calm matched my turmoil. My roommate, Tess, looked up from her laptop. "You're late," she said. I sank onto the couch. "Emma's sick." She closed her laptop. "Oh shit, what happened?" I told her the diagnosis, the match, the past betrayal. She listened, eyebrows knitting. "That's complicated." I nodded, tracing the rim of my cup. "She didn't just leak one deck, she leaked the next two. The board found out months later, but by then I'd left. She used her inside's reputation to get richer clients, while I rebuilt from zero." Tess sighed. "Bone marrow donation is a big deal. Painful, risky. You don't owe her." I cut her off. "But she's dying." I swallowed. Part of me wants to slam the door, but her blood is in my veins. The doctor said I'm the only match. If I don't help, she'll die. Tess reached across, squeezed my hand. "Whatever you choose, it's yours. But don't let guilt make your decision." I nodded, swirling tea. But guilt and rage were a potent blend. The next morning, I returned to the hospital. Emma's chart waited outside her room. I paused, building steel. I gripped the door handle. Inside, she perked up. "Did you decide?" I hesitated, then said the words. "I'm sorry, Emma. I can't." Her face crumpled instantly, betrayal's newest echo. She gasped, fear and hurt mingling. "What? You can't be serious." I crossed my arms. "You ruined my life. I can't save yours." Her eyes flared. "You're better than this." "Better?" I spat. "I'm not going to be your savior after you destroyed me." She sank back into the pillow, tears flowing freely. "I get it. I don't deserve this." She turned away, mourning the kindness she'd forfeited. I felt a crack within me, but conviction lay over it, cold and hard. I nodded. "I'm sorry." I walked out. In the hallway, nurses bustled past. I heard the whispered distress from Emma's room, and kept going. I needed air, clarity. Outside, dawn smudged the horizon. I paced on the hospital steps. The world smelled of spring blossoms. My phone buzzed, a text from Mom. "Mom, please, Mark. She's so scared. Will you reconsider?" I stared at the message, the weight of my choice pressing down. I typed, "Me not now. Give me time." I pocketed the phone and walked away. Back home, I couldn't sleep. I replayed Emma's hospital bed, her gaunt cheeks, pleading eyes, and the boardroom where she'd laughed when I got fired. I thought of my ruined reputation, the job I'd loved, the paychecks stopped, the embittered nights. I thought of Emma's betrayal. But I also thought of Mom and Dad, frantic and broken, and of my father's voice cracking on the phone. I thought of the Marrow they said I carried, her only hope. I drifted into a restless slumber, dreams torn between revenge and regret. The next morning, I awoke with a pounding head and a decision stirring. Beneath the wreck of my anger, a fragile ember of love remained. It did not erase the past, but it suggested a fragile path forward. I brewed coffee, sat at my desk, and opened my laptop. One new email glowed in my inbox from Mom. "They need to confirm by Friday. Please let me know." I exhaled, hand hovering over the keyboard. I typed, "Me, I'll do it. Let's start the screening." I paused. The words hung between vengeance and compassion. I hit send. My phone buzzed, Mom's reply, almost immediate. "Thank you, I love you." I closed my eyes, heart racing. The path ahead would be painful. Tests, injections, surgery, weeks of recovery. Emma and I had miles of damage to navigate. But as I sipped my coffee, I felt a strange calm. I had chosen to step through the firewall I'd built, to offer a gift she hadn't earned. Not forgiveness, perhaps, but a chance at survival. And maybe that was enough for now. Tomorrow the hospital awaited. Friday the donation would happen. And the week after, whether she lived or died, neither of us would ever be the same. Because sometimes, saving someone requires the greatest act of humility and the greatest act of hope. I walked into the transplant center the next Monday like a man walking into his funeral. The sterile corridors, humming fluorescents, the underside of the nurse's shoes squeaking across polished tile. I'd seen it all on Grey's Anatomy, never thought I'd live it. My palms were slick, my shirt clinging to my back from nerves. Beside me, Mom squeezed my elbow, her eyes bright with both relief and fear. "Thank you," she whispered. I nodded, trying to look brave. "Let's get this over with." Inside the exam room, a lithe coordinator named Nurse Patel greeted us. She was all efficiency and kindness, like an angel in scrubs. She laid out the process: blood tests, chest x-rays, ECG, and then the actual marrow harvest under anesthesia. I listened, focusing on her calm voice while the terrors swirled: pain, complications, the possibility it wouldn't work. But deep down, a small flame of resolve burned. I owed Emma that much. She drew blood, rattling off tubes. I flexed my fist, bled into vials. "So that's all my DNA," I said, surprised by the casual finality. She smiled as she labeled them. "Your sister's life depends on this," she said. No pressure. Mom read a magazine in the corner, her lips pressed, tears threatening. When Nurse Patel led me down to X-ray, I gave Mom a thumbs up. She returned it shakily. The machine beeped. I held my breath while my heart's rhythm flickered on the monitor. Back in the waiting room, all 3 hours of testing done, I sank onto a vinyl couch. Mom approached carrying 2 hospital coffees, liquid courage in styrofoam. We sipped in silence. Finally, she asked, voice small, "Are you sure?" I looked out the window at the cherry blossoms dancing in the wind. "She's my sister." It sounded simple, but I meant every word. Thursday dawned, a day I'd marked on my calendar for months: marrow harvest. I reported to the OR at 7 a.m., wearing a gown that snapped in the back and felt like vulnerability incarnate. Nurse Patel prepped the IV line. An anesthesiologist introduced himself with a clipped nod, then the world tilted. I woke in recovery to sterile warmth, a dull ache in my lower back, and a throbbing in my veins. A curtain rustled. A surgeon's voice, "Mr. Sanders." All went smoothly. "We collected plenty. You'll feel sore for a few days, but we got more than enough cells." Relief and exhaustion washed over me. "Thank you," I husked. They wheeled me back to the inpatient room. Mom and Dad were there, wide-eyed. Dad reached for my hand. "How do you feel?" "Tired. But good." I lied, forcing a smile. The actual truth: pain but pride fighting to the surface. They stayed for an hour, then I insisted they go home. I needed rest. Lying in the crisp hospital sheets, I drifted between dozing and plotting Emma's recovery. I pulled out my phone and texted my boss at the coffee shop, asking for Thursday and Friday off. Then I slept. Saturday afternoon, exactly 7 days post-op, I heard a ping. My phone vibrated on the bedside table, a text from Mom. "They did the transplant at 10 a.m. It went well. They'll notify us of engraftment in 2 weeks." A flood of hope. I texted back, "Thank you. That's incredible." That evening, I swapped my hospital gown for jeans and a hoodie. Pain meds faded, a sharper awareness took its place. I left my room for the first time, walking the linoleum halls. I paused outside Emma's door, 273. The nameplate read Sanders E. I knocked gently, no answer. I peeked inside. There she lay, pale but changed, a faint sheen of life glowing in her cheeks, monitors ticking off her vitals. I opened the curtain. She stirred, eyelids fluttering. "Mark?" she whispered. I pulled up a chair. "Hey," I swallowed. "How are you feeling?" She attempted a grin, like meat in a blender. She coughed, then laughed. Weak, but genuine. "I wanted to thank you." I shook my head. "Don't. You did nothing wrong." She reached for my hand. Fingers cool. "I ruined your career. You could have walked away, but you stayed." I squeezed back. "You're still my sister. You're still me." I paused, voice thick. "I promise, no more games." She exhaled. "Promise?" I nodded. "Promise." By Wednesday, day 14 post-transplant, the doctor came in with news. His face was grave, despite a faint smile. My heart contracted. "Engraftment is mixed. 60% donor cells. We need to see Monday's PCR to determine if we have sustained engraftment or risk graft failure." I exhaled, tense. Mom standing behind me. "Thank you," I murmured. He patted my shoulder as he left. The waiting game resumed. That night, I returned to the apartment I was leasing near the hospital. The city hummed outside my window. Sirens. Late-night diners, the pulse of life. I collapsed on my futon and stared at the ceiling, replaying Emma's face. Resilient, fragile, hopeful. 2 years of bitterness washed away. All that mattered now was her life. I texted my old boss from the coffee shop. Hey boss, Mark. I can return to shifts Monday. Need to pay rent. My phone buzzed swiftly. Take your time, we'll hold your spot. I stared at the kindness. Even strangers could forgive more easily than I had. Monday morning, I returned to the hospital early. Engraftment test results awaited. I found Mom in the waiting room, clutching a travel mug. She looked at me with red eyes and hope. Good morning, I said. Good morning, she replied. After an agonizing hour, the doctor arrived. He flipped through the chart and brightened. Mark, results are in, 95% donor cells. Full engraftment. Emma's prognosis is excellent. We'll taper her immunosuppressants next week. Relief crashed through me. I laughed, tears streaming. Mom burst into tears. We embraced a small island of peace in the sterile ward. A nurse peeked at us. Congratulations, she said softly. I nodded, voice shaking. Thank you. Later that week, I visited Emma for the last time before her discharge. She was stronger, hair slowly regrowing, spirits reborn. She sat up in bed, looking radiant despite the tubes and IV lines. Surprise, I said, holding out a bag. She peeked inside to find a sheaf of letters, grandmother's old journals, our childhood diary entries, and a small package. All I owe you. It contained an engraved watch, time heals all, and a thick envelope, my severance paperwork from 2 years ago, resigned with a check for twice what I'd earned, and a simple note. Consider this a retrofit. She gasped. I cut her off. You lost your job with that leak. I suffered too, but that job taught me everything. So I reversed your severance, added interest, and a little extra for. I cleared my throat, a fresh start. Her tears fell. I had no idea, I shook my head. It's my turn to give, because you saved me too. She threw her arms around me. Thank you. I'll never take you for granted again. 2 weeks later, Emma walked out of the hospital on her own 2 feet, her own insurance card, and the gift of renewal. The board investigation of her leak had closed with no further action. My severance settlement included non-disclosure from clients, clearing her record. She moved across town into a small apartment, enrolled in cooking classes, and began volunteering at the same hospital wing. Mom and Dad threw a private celebration at home, turkey on the table, pie on the counter, laughter in the air. Emma sat beside me on the couch, leaning into my shoulder. I felt a gentle pride. My career, harmed by her betrayal, had rebuilt itself around resilience and empathy. I'd nearly refused to save her, and in doing so, I nearly lost myself. But when I chose compassion, everything changed. That evening, as the family gathered around the table, Emma raised her glass. To my brother, my hero, my marrow donor. Her voice trembled, but I heard her heart. I clinked my glass. To new beginnings, I said, and sisterhood stronger than any betrayal. The room buzzed with warmth, forgiveness, and hope. And as I looked around, I realized redemption isn't just a one-way street. It's a path we walk together, hand in hand, blood ties or not, toward a future neither of us could have imagined.